Hi everyone, it's Ashley Tea Garden Papercrafts and welcome to day 12 of the Fairy Wings and Forgotten Things collaboration. I am here with another tutorial today. I know it looks like I've got a mess on my desk and I certainly feel like I do, but I've got a couple ideas today on what I want to do for the prompt. So I've got two of my circle punches here. I've got some paper. I have two lighter blue ink pads and a blue dauber. I've got some crystal gems that are like the self-stick kind. I've got my box of brads. I've got some blue stickles. I'm not sure what color this is. Ice. And then I've got various papers in blues and whites. So my idea is to make a layered piece to go on my page. So I am currently here in my journal, and today's prompt is to make a snowflake of any kind. So for those of you who are playing along with the scavenger hunt, you may have already figured out from the prompt what our token is for today, but I will show you what our token is later on. So first and foremost, what I think I want to do is I want to cut some of these papers into circles and punch some of them into circles. Sometimes this punch is a little finicky. Come on. And I don't really care about like if it's not perfect, because you will see why in a bit. So I'm going to cut some various circles out of my papers here. I've got this really pretty blue with gold. I've got this homemade feeling other paper. Now, if you don't have a circle punch, or if yours kind of is terrible like mine, you may find that it's easier for you to just come on. You may find that it's just easier for you to trace a circle and draw it on that way. And that's fine. I may end up doing that because I am really struggling with this circle punch today. It is not wanting to be my friend. I have tried sharpening it. I think it's that one of the edges is slightly off, and also it's not loving this paper, which is really unfortunate. Okay. So I will set those scraps aside. I will use that for a different project. So we will just roughly cut a circle out of this paper. Again, it does not need to be perfect, and I will show you why. And then I will cut some smaller circles. So you want your circles to be various sizes. And if they're a little oblong, that's okay too. Again, this is not going to matter. It's going to be too small for that. This paper has like silver flecks in it, which I thought was really pretty. Does make it a little bit tougher to punch out, but that's okay. This is snowflake paper from a previous project that I was working on. Let's see if this will punch I'll just stick an extra piece of paper in there just in case. There we go. That worked all right that time. Stick my scraps aside here. This is left over from Junetober. This was actually a background that I had created for one of my my folio designs. This one was for the murder at Ravenwood Manor. So I'm going to cut out this circle here because that's pretty cool. And then I will think I'm going to cut out another random circle over here. Oh, that was actually a pretty good circle. I'm proud of myself for that. This is pages from an Edgar Allan Poe book that I actually dyed using a hibiscus dye. Because of the, I believe it's pH or acidity, whichever one, because of the makeup of the paper, it turned the dye blue when I put the book pages in it, which I thought was pretty cool. So it turned out this really lovely shade, and then I dried them outside in the sun. I've got some tracing paper here. Now, I'm sure watching me cut circles is not the most exciting thing in the world, but if you are crafting along with me, this gives you a chance to also cut your circles out. And I've got music paper, a piece of I believe it's Russian or Greek, I don't know, it's all Greek to me. Sorry, that was a dumb joke. I've got a piece of dictionary paper, I've got a music page, and I've got a fairly sturdy piece of lined paper. Fold that into fourths here. So we've got some good circles there. And then some smaller ones there. Am I inside my circle? I am. This might be a little too thick. Yeah. I thought it might be, but that's okay because it gave me enough of a circle edge that I could just follow that where it didn't cut. All right, so let me set my scraps aside. And don't worry, all of these scraps will get used. Just probably not in today's project. And then I will set that aside. So what I want to do is I want to turn a bunch of these into snowflakes. And then I want to layer the snowflakes and make them like pages in the page of my journal. I want to make it like my fairies have been saving these snowflakes like they are something precious to them, that because you know each snowflake is different. So I want to make these into layered ones. I'm probably going to do a little bit of inking, add a little bit of stickles to the outside. You know, I have a couple different ideas of how I want to embellish these. So just making sure I don't have any like super incomplete pieces. And then I'll put ones that are all relatively the same size together so that I can just kind of grab and go. Perfect. Okay. Okay, I'm back. So, after watching me cut, obviously I'm not gonna use all of these. I knew I wouldn't, but I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of options for this. So, any ones where I cut out the center, those I plan on using to glue. Ones where I left the center, I want to put a brad in them or decorate the center in some way. So these three here, I think I want to ink the edges a little bit. Now, I will say, if you're using thick paper, it will be more difficult to cut. Thinner paper is definitely better for something like this. I mean, as you could see, like with this one, I could only fold it into quarters, whereas thinner paper, you can get much finer designs, like the tracing paper. So like I would say if you want to make more intricate designs, stick with like a copy weight paper or something like that. All right. So I will set my inks aside because I think that's all the inking that I want to do on these. And let me set my other ones aside here. So let's see, for this one, I kind of think I want to do something like that. Now, obviously, because I have this circle cut out, I can't do a brad in the middle, but what I can do is to come here and just put glue around the center like that and glue it in place. I don't want to glue my edges. And then I think I want to take one of these gems and put it in the center there, like that. So for those of you playing along in the scavenger hunt, today's is the snowflake. So in case you hadn't already figured it out from the fact that I am making snowflakes, your piece today to put on your board for day 12 is the snowflake. Okay, so for these two, actually I think I want to do a little bit of inking in the center there. Yeah, and then I want to put these two together with a brad. And I've got this star brad, which I think would be really, really cute. I think that this is the large one. I have some small ones, but I think this large one would be really, really cute. Normally, when I'm using brads, I will use my awl or something like that, but because I'm just going through two pieces and I don't care if it's completely in the center or that, I'm just going to put it in like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Next, I think I want to take, this one here, and I want to put some more gems on this one. Some gems to kind of dress it up a little bit because, again, I couldn't cut super, super detailed on it because the way that the material is, because it's really more of a material than it is a paper. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I do have enough of the small gems to do some more small gems on this one. So I just want to dress it up a little bit so it reads more, a little more snowflake than it currently does. So I live in Buffalo, New York. If you know anything about Buffalo, it's probably that we get snow. We get some very serious snowstorms here. Most winters we do not get big, super big storms, but we do every once in a while get really, really, really big storms. Probably about maybe 10 years ago, at one point we had like an 8-foot snowstorm. That was a serious business one. I like the way that turned out. Okay. Now I think for this one I want to use these big ones. But yeah, so my birthday's in December, so I actually learned to drive in the snow. I took my road test on our first snow of the season, and you could not see the curbs for the parallel parking. So I was quite a ways away from the curb, but because of the circumstances, the gentleman was very sweet and still gave me my license. He was like, "This is not your fault." I had to get out and brush snow away to verify that the snow was that you were in fact next to the curb. So he was like, "If I have to get out and brush until, no one else is going to be able to tell either." So that made me feel better. Cool, like that one. Actually, I think maybe I'll add little ones in these in-betweens here. And in a minute here, we'll get to decorating our page. So there was so many ideas that I had for this one. Did I get them all? Yeah, I did. Okay. So there were so many ideas that I had for this particular prompt. At first, my idea was to do a specimen slide, which I may still do. I'm just not going to do it today. Where you take a printed image. So this would have been my printed image that I used. You take your printed image and you submerge it in water. Or you cover it in packing tape. I actually have a tutorial for that on my channel. But you cover your image in packing tape, cut it out where you want it cut out, and then you submerge it in water. And then you rub off the white backing and you leave just the printed color on your packing tape. And then turn that into a specimen slide. I usually, because the backside of your tape will be sticky, I then put tape on that backside as well to give it the extra little bit of protection, but you don't have to. Okay, so I'm going to set my brads aside. Actually, let me get out my two little blue star brads, because I think, ooh, I've got another one. I think I'd like to use these in my page as well. Ooh, I've got another one. Ooh, and it's a big one. Awesome. I love to use brads in fun ways. Cool. All right. So let's set that aside. Let's get out our journal here. And get to our snowflake page. Sorry, I got really excited because when I opened the page, I saw Great Lakes, Northwest Ontario, Hamilton, London. This is actually, I live on the Great Lakes in New York State. And so it's interesting to see areas that I am familiar with Like Onondaga Lake is in central New York. Ontario is the Canadian province that's right across the border where Toronto is. In Hamilton, my mom used to work in Hamilton. I have friends that live in London, Ontario. So, and then we also have Lake Ontario, and I live on Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. So I got distracted by that for a minute. So that's appropriate. So I think first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in with my dauber and whatever, and just do some blue across the pages here. No particular no particular, just whatever's on my dauber here. So you can see some glitter on the side pages here from my previous page. Um, Glitter is definitely something to use with caution. You will find glitter everywhere. Um, but I didn't have embossing powder for the other day, so I used glitter. All right. So next what I want to do is I'm going to grab some of these circles that I cut out, but I didn't end up using. I'm going to use them to kind of create a little bit of a background for myself. Like that. And I'm going to leave Ontario visible at the top of the page because that makes me really happy. I've used tracing paper in this journal actually quite a bit because I, in some cases, want to be able to still see the writing on this book that I'm using. And so I am using the tracing paper as a really good way to be able to kind of still see that it's an altered book. I don't want to hide that it's an altered book. If you tear your tissue paper or your tracing paper or whatever like I do, I don't really mind. I will just go with it and put it down. If it wrinkles, if it tears, that doesn't bother me because, again, one, it's a junk journal. And two, you can't really tell once it's actually down on the page. If it's like, you know, regular piece of paper or something like that, you might be able to tell. But with tissue paper, super thin tracing paper, stuff like that, it's not gonna really be super noticeable, and it doesn't bother me. Like, and with what I'm doing here, it doesn't bother me if like little edges are still peeking up. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I want to glue my snowflakes into place. Like these are the precious snowflakes that my fairies have collected, and they are memorializing them on the page of this journal here. And I want the sides to continue to stick up a little bit. I want it to have that kind of 3D element to it. So I think I'm going to do my bigger snowflakes on this side. Now I would suggest probably using a stronger glue because I'm doing this on a video and I don't use hot glue sticks. I don't use hot glue at all in my projects. I'm just going to use my glue stick, but I will probably have to go back when I do the finishing touches on my journal, and I might go back and tack these down a little bit better with like my either Eileen's or with my Fabri-Tac or something like that. And I think I want to bring in a small one over here. I'm not totally sure though. And I'd also like to use one of my brads. But obviously I can't put the brad could do something like that. That's actually kind of fun. I don't mind that. There we go. That looks good. I like that. I might come in and stick some plain paper here, which will then kind of create a little bit of a writing spot. Yeah, I think I like that. Again, I am not going for perfect here. I don't expect perfection in my junk journals. I think part of the charm for me is that they are handmade. Um, I'm not trying to look like I made something in a factory. I am trying to look like I made something from scratch in my own home, using what supplies that I had. So if you are looking for perfection, I apologize in advance because my journals never look that way. They have homemade charm, and I love them that way. But you could certainly, take a little bit more time to make this look a lot more perfected than what I am doing. So that gives me a little bit of writing space there. I've got that kind of snowflake detailing that I was looking for. And I think I'm going to use this as a tuckable, because I think that would be really, really cute.